I'm really tired. I'm like the kind of tired where you're like, what is happening and why do I feel so horrible? Oh, it's because you didn't sleep enough. And you're running your body ragged because you're trying to have good experiences for the end of your internship. And yeah, the experiences are good, but what cost? Your body and your mind. Existential crises ASMR. My last video was sort of trash, in a fun way, I think. I don't think it was very funny or interesting or entertaining, but, you know, sometimes we lose our place in the booktube pantheon of purpose. So I'm gonna get back right to it, and I'm gonna talk about some books I've read recently. I'm not gonna lie to you and say this is some sort of specific wrap-up, but I might lie to you in the title and say it is, so who knows. So anyway, let's get right to it. The first book that I read recently was The Bride Test by Helen Hoang. This book is much beloved. It is sort of a in-universe sequel to The Kiss Quotient, a book that I found very mediocre. I don't know why I didn't love The Kiss Quotient. I think it had to do with the fact that I just found the pacing to be really weird and slow. Pacing is a huge deal to me when it comes to romance. I get very easily bored if it's not, to an extent, sort of quick, even though I love a slow burn. I like the characters, but I will say that I don't remember anything that happened in The Kiss Quotient other than the fact they fell in love. So that's probably not a good sign because I read it like not that long ago, like a year ago. I mean, maybe that is a long time ago. Anyway, surprisingly, I really liked The Bride Test. I liked it more than The Kiss Quotient. The Bride Test, if you don't know what it's about a man who, he's on the autism spectrum, and he is very, very smart, and his mother is like, yo, my dude, you need to fall in love. You need to get a lady. Maybe not fall in love, but you need to get a lady. Let's get on it. So the mom goes to Vietnam and basically just finds this random girl and is like, hey, you seem like you have a good heart. Do you want to marry my son? So the girl, who goes by Esme, when she comes to America, becomes sort of a nuisance in our homeboy's life. He doesn't want her there. He's ruining her routine. And it is kind of bizarre to have a random person just living in your house out of nowhere. Anyway, over time, they like kind of fall in love, which is sweet. What's nice is that they sort of take care of one another. Like, she takes care of him, he takes care of her. He really supports her, like, learning and her education. She supports him, kind of emotionally. Like, it's a really nice balance and give and take. And they have nice chemistry, and all in all, they fall in love. Also, really love the way virginity is talked about in this book. Virginity isn't a real thing, and this is one of the first books I've ever read where I felt like it was handled in a way like that. Like, the main male character is a virgin, and I don't know, like, he just doesn't really think about it. It's not like this huge deal. And, like, the characters, like, mention it a little bit, but I don't know. It doesn't, like, feel like a big deal. It feels like he just found the person he wanted to, you know, sleep with, and that's what happened. And I don't know, I like the way that was handled quite a lot. So, anyway, The Bride Test was super fun, super sweet. I listened to it on audiobook, and it was a pretty good audiobook. Like, the narrator was really good. She was really good at doing both the male and the female parts of the story, and she just had a lot of character, and I really enjoyed her narration style. Okay, moving on. I read both City of Ashes and City of Glass. I was just on some sort of interpersonal journey when I decided to listen to both these books on audiobook. I listened to City of Bones for Booktubeathon, and I found it really entertaining. And basically what happened is I found the incest plot of our girl Clary and our boy Jace to be fascinating, and I really wanted to see that resolved. So that's why I kept reading. I kept reading until they resolved it. The resolution was incredibly boring, But I'm glad it was resolved, because reading these books and like seeing these two young people just be like, yeah, we're brother and sister, but yeah, we're freaking in love, was horrifying and disgusting, and it made me want to throw up. Even though I knew that they actually weren't, I still hated reading it because they didn't know that they were, and that was bothersome to me. These books were bad, but they somehow got more entertaining the more that I read. Like, I enjoyed us going to that random foreign country that Cassie Clare made up, where all the shadow hunters are. That was really super fun to read about, and I really enjoyed, sort of all the twisties and the turnies. Even though these books felt somehow very low stakes, like, yeah, this guy wanted to, you know, take over the world. It just never felt like he was gonna actually succeed in doing that, which I think was sort of a failing. I don't know. Harry Potter, you had Voldemort, you had a siege of followers, you had these sort of epic battles. In this book, you sort of just had this guy who could be someone's dad just sort of being like, hey, I'm gonna take over the world. And then he like tried and then he failed. It was just blah. It was boring. I didn't like that they killed a kid. I don't like when people kill kids in books because I just don't like it. So that was not fun for me. I did not want to read that. Overall, like, yeah, the writing was terrible and the story was weird and the incest plot went on for way too long. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, I did kind of enjoy the whole story. Like, I wouldn't read anymore because I thought about it and I was like, nah, that's just enough of that in my life. But, you know, we tried. Maybe I'll do Twilight next. Who knows?
You're about to witness me saying, "When the fire on high," multiple times when I meant to say, "With the fire on high," multiple times. I apologize for my impertinence, my lack of eloquence, and the tired gloominess in my demeanor as I struggled through to make this video entertaining and, I don't know, quick, but obviously failed in my direction and actual ability to carry out these tasks by missaying the name of a very popular and very good book multiple times.
All right, what is next, my dudes? Oh, I listened to When the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. When the Fire on High was the perfect counter to all of the crap that I had just read in the City of Bones series. What a beautifully written, beautifully told story about a young mother, a teen mother, who just loves to cook, loves her family, and loves her daughter. I love Elizabeth Acevedo. I think she's such a talented writer, and The Poet X is one of my favorite books that I read last year, so I was very excited to listen to this, and it did not disappoint. It made me cry, it made me laugh, it was so beautiful. And yes, I also listened to this on audiobook. I didn't finish any physical books this month, or last month, to be honest. I love me an audiobook. But it was really great, and it's definitely going to go into like my favorite books that I've read this year, for sure. Okay, next, I literally just finished reading The Right Swipe, which was such a fun time. I've been feeling like very much on a romance kick lately, obviously to an extent, and I was just really feeling this one. It was on Scribd too, so that also helped. This is about two people, one woman who she goes by Ree. Ree basically is the founder of a Bumble equivalent, and she goes on a date through that app with a guy who's an ex-NFL football player whose aunt, like aunt-in-law, is the founder of sort of a Match.com equivalent. And our girl Ree, she worked for a Tinder equivalent. Anyway, lots of equivalents. And they have this like one night stand, but they both really like each other, and then he kind of ghosts her because his uncle ends up dying, and then they kind of get back together through circumstances involving work. I really loved this a lot. I loved our main characters because they had a lot of personality. I love that Ree, our lady character, she was so determined and she was so feisty and fearless, and I really liked how they dealt with her backstory, how they dealt with her past trauma and her past relationships, specifically with the man who was the founder of the Tinder equivalent. I also really like the respectful kindness that you had with Samson, who was our main male character. And I also really like the fact that this book dealt with some really serious topics. It dealt with like the Me Too movement. It also dealt with football injuries and the toll they take on players. I really, really enjoyed this. I thought it was really interesting and asked a lot of interesting questions. And while it didn't solve a lot of them, I like the fact that it brought those ideas up in this book. So I enjoyed that quite a lot. So some books that I haven't finished that I don't think I'm going to. I DNF'd Fire and Thorns, what is this book called? Thorn Times. Oh God, what is it called? I'm looking it up. Hold on. Goodreads is so slow. A Lesson in Thorns by Sierra Simone. Everyone was talking about this book, so I picked it up. Like, I love flowery writing. I know that was something like Chandler, the Queen of Smut, did not like about this book. That didn't really bother me. What I didn't like about this book was how slow it is, and then also just like how not good it is. It's really uncomfortable to read, and the fact that like I don't care about any of the characters, like, at all. I really tried. I tried and it just wasn't gonna happen, so I gave up. I might finish it at some point, but as of now, it's looking like a no for me, dog. So overall, that is what I've read recently. If you have any thoughts, please let me know. I have 2 Goodreads notifications. Oh, someone liked my review of Called Midwife, which I read so long ago, but it's a book that I really like. So anyway, currently I'm reading The Cows by Donna Porter on audio, and I'm really enjoying it because I really like Donna Porter, and she's really funny on Instagram, and her husband is Chris O'Dowd. But she's awesome on her own, so. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a lovely day. I hope that one day I feel alive again.